Welcome, friends, to another episode of Democratic Data. The dark period of emergency, which went on for 21 months, starting from 25th June 1975 up until 1977, has been of late once again in discussion, courtesy Kangna Ranaut's latest movie, Emergency. But the topic of today's video is not the movie. Rather, we'll try to see what were the main reasons which forced Indira Gandhi to proclaim emergency and whether she had any other resort in hand. But before that, we have to have a look into the situation that India was leading up to the emergency. So, in today's video, we will try to understand the four major issues that India was facing before the emergency was proclaimed. So, first of all, I will start off with political instability. Just before the emergency was proclaimed, Indira Gandhi received two rude shocks. First of all, the date was 12th of June 1975, and Justice Jagmohan Lal Sinha of the Allahabad High Court passed a landmark verdict in the history of Indian democracy, ruling that Indira Gandhi had adopted malpractices and had availed the services of a government official, and that led to her getting rejected from the Parliament of India. This was followed by another shock in the Gujarat Assembly elections, where her party performed very poorly and they came down to only 75 seats, which way below the 140 seats which they had won earlier. And this led the Janta Morcha coalition, inspired by Morarji Desai, to form the government. In fact, this resulted many of her own party leaders going against her. And the person who actually had filed the case against her, Raj Narayan, was actually instigated by another Congress leader who later went on to form the Congress O, none other than Chandrabhanu Gupta, who had earlier been the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh. This tumultuous events finally led Jayaprakash Narayan for calling total revolution in his rally on 25th June 1975, and this triggered off the emergency era in India. But now we'll go a bit back and focus on internal disturbances. 1970 to 1975 was the most tumultuous period of Indian democracy. And I will start off with first the Naxal movement, which had started in 1967 in Naxalbari, West Bengal, and was at its peak in this period. Although the government had implemented Operation Steeplechase, and that had resulted in a lot of arrests and deaths of Naxal cadres, they were not able to control them fully. And this also resulted the Naxals even declaring certain regions like Srikakulam as liberated zones. Not far late, in 1971, as we all know, there was the Indo-Pakistan War, which finally led to Bangladesh's liberation. But during and after the war, India found herself in a very huge refugee crisis, and scores of refugees were pouring into India's eastern states. This not only dented India's finances, but it also resulted in law and order chaos in those states. A few years later, in 1974, India experienced the world's largest rail strike, in which 17 lakh railway workers went on to a 20-day strike from 8th of May to 27th of May in 1974. The movement was led by the then firebrand union leader George Fernandez, who later went on to be India's defense minister. For a country like India, where the railways is the backbone of our economy, a 20-day strike paralyzed India. In fact, estimates say that during that 20-day period, India incurred a loss of 1.5 to 2 billion dollars, which at that point of time was a gigantic amount. So as we can see, First of all, political instability and then internal disturbances, and this cascaded into further economic challenges. And India's economy was crumbling between 1971 to 75. I would give you some numbers in this. The national income went down as low as below 2.14% in the period 1970 to 1975. The agricultural and food grain production declined in back to back financial years from 1972 to 1975. And in fact, for the first time since the independence of India, India recorded a negative growth percentage change in industrial growth over its previous year in 1973-74. And eventually, all these events culminated into a high inflation as high as 23% in 1975. And last but not the least, we'll come to foreign threats. India-Pakistan tensions have been always high since independence, and this spiraled after Bangladesh's liberation, and Pakistan was desperate to create anarchy in the region. Indira Gandhi believed that Pakistani agents were still active in that region, and this belief was strengthened after the successful military coup in Bangladesh, incidentally on 15th August 1975, which actually started Bangladesh's first military regime. On top of that, India had also carried out its first nuclear test in Pokhran in 1974, and this led to more economic sanctions on India from global countries. So, given this dark alley India was passing through, according to Indira Gandhi, proclaiming emergency was the only path that she saw. Now, the question arises, would any other Indian Prime Minister under similar circumstances would have done the same? That I would leave it to you guys to ponder on. At the same time, it would be too far-fetched to call Indira Gandhi a dictator because she herself withdrew the emergency in 1977, leading her to lose the next general elections. While atrocities during the emergency on opposition leaders and the press form the darkest chapter of India's constitutional democracy, the events and precursors leading up to its proclamation are not less frightening. Thank you. That was all from me in today's video. Please do like, share, and subscribe my channel.